Now the latest from the Scottsbluff Body and Paint Sports Desk. Scottsbluff Body and Paint, you're driving home our reputation.
It's a Hall of Fame type day here on the Thursday TV Update. Earlier this week, Scottsbluff High School announced their 2024 Hall of Fame induction class. It includes 21 individuals and 3 teams or eras of teams. This is just the second year for the Hall of Fame. So the second induction class, and it's a tedious process, according to former Bearcat and committee member Jay Ayler.
Well, the committee gets together a handful of times a year to talk about the different people that maybe need to be inducted. During these early years, we're focusing a lot of our time on people that are from a ways back. Been some are deceased, some are still around, but people that maybe were great athletes here at Scottsbluff in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70s. So we're kind of focusing on them, but then we also are receiving nominations. And, there's been several great athletes go through here, and so we're kind of sprinkling in some of them as well.
Yeah, athletes and teams spanning 9 decades, all the way back to the 1930s up to as recent as 2014. Another selection committee member, Burt Wright, has been in charge of tracking down some of the stats, the numbers, and learning a lot along the way in this process.
That is the fun part, going back in annuals and talking to some old timers about people from the past. And, there's names that have been lost that were like, who? Who's that? People from the 50s and before, where once you do some research, what they've done is pretty amazing. Like, Larry Donovan, for instance, was part of that 1958 football team, which was undefeated. And I think they outscored their opponents that year 453 to like 38. I mean, I'm not kidding. That's crazy. But he was all state and everything. He set the state record in the pole vault, won the gold medal in that. And then talking to him last week on the phone to let him know of his nomination. He was the head football coach at Montana State. He was the head coach in the CFL, Canadian Football League, for 2 years. So there's a lot more to some of these guys, like Leo Stangel's another one, former athletic director, teacher, basketball coach, and looking back at some of his accolades, he coached state championship football team, track team in the 30s, and then was the head coach for the 1941 state championship basketball team, which was 26-0. So there's a lot we've discovered that's been pretty profound.
Of course, current Scottsbluff AD Dave Hawksworth heavily involved in this annual project as well, and he says they learned quite a bit from last year to this year in terms of just how things should be working.
Well, planning the banquet is one thing. The other thing is the length of the banquet last year. With as many as we tried to do, it got a little bit long, so we're making some adjustments there. And the other thing that I think that has come forth is just the amount of support. We thought people would be supportive, but it was very well attended last year, and it was so fun to see the stories. And then the support that came in. As you'll see this TV, this touchscreen that's behind us, we are using the funds that were generated from that night and that'll go on forward to help, further benefit Scottsbluff High School.
And let's go ahead and highlight one of the soon-to-be inductees, the architect of modern-day Scottsbluff Bearcat football. That would be former head coach Gary Hartman.
Gary Hartman's a great friend of mine, and when I first started coaching here, I started at the middle school level. I did that for 4 years. Then he moved me into freshman, moved me up to the high school, and was on the high school staff for 17 years eventually. One of the things that stands out, the story that I always tell about Gary, is he let us coach, and he trusted us to do our job. And so he knew that we would put in the time and work at it, and he supported us. And so as the head coach, a lot of times all he did was kind of move the pieces, but he trusted Coach Benson, Coach Deaver, Coach Moran, myself to go do our jobs and coach. And at the end of the day, he was the head coach, and if it didn't go right, he shouldered the blame. And if it went well, we celebrated all together. And that has by far, anytime anybody asked me about Coach Hartman, that's what it was. He didn't micromanage the staff. He trusted us to do our job, and you knew that.
The full rundown on the entire list was posted on the website earlier this week. You can see everyone elected in that story online. Induction night will be Friday, October 18th as part of a McCook at Scottsbluff football Friday night. That's the latest today from the Scottsbluff Body and Paint Sports Desk. I'm Chris Cottrell.